Hello everybody, it's me, the Hero Teacher, and I welcome you on my channel. Here we are in episode 3 of our continuous video series about the IELTS actual speaking exam. Today is January the 8th, and if you're planning to take the exam in January, February, March, or even in April, this video is perfect for you because the topics and the questions that we are going to discuss in this video may appear in upcoming exams. So the resources that I'm using to shoot these videos are my own students and the app called IELTS Assistant. These questions actually do appear in the exams. That's why practicing with me in these videos will definitely boost your score. What I recommend you to do is to gather as many ideas as possible, because my answers in these videos are not pre-planned answers. They are completely spontaneous and they may not be the best answer for the given question. However, my intention is to provide some sort of an insight for you to get the idea, get the message of the question. Because if you become familiar with a particular question, everything is perfect. So let's get started. Our first topic of the video is noisy places. Well, this is not very common in the exams, but there is some likelihood of appearance. And we've got just 2 questions in this topic. The first one is, do you like quiet or noisy places? Well, in all of my videos, I always highlight how important it is to be honest with the examiner. For example, here, do you like quiet or noisy places? Personally, I don't like noisy places. I am a person who always chooses to be in a quiet place. So you need to say that. Well, the answer could be, do you like quiet or noisy places? Honestly speaking, I hate noisy places. I don't know why, but since my childhood, I've always tried to avoid staying in a place where there is too much noise. That's why I mostly opt for quiet places as much as possible. So I honestly tell the examiner how I feel. And in part 1, again, it's important to be as fluent as possible. And here and there, you can use some complex grammar, such as perfect tenses, conditional sentences, if the situation requires it. Would you like to go to quiet or noisy places on weekend when you're free? Based on my answer, the examiner already knows what's coming. So, well, based on my answer to the first question, the examiner already knows that I am going to, like, what my answer for this question is going to be. That's why, as long as you are honest and you are giving the right answer, like you're not lying, your answers create a flow that the examiners like. So my answer for this question would be, well, as I've already mentioned, I try to avoid visiting noisy places as much as possible. Places such as crowded cafes or busy streets, and weekends particularly are my rest time. So I choose to be with my friends, like a few of them, and probably like play some games, or I don't know, read a book or visit a remote cafe where not many people actually visit. So something like that. Again, I'm trying to give you the idea and make you familiar with the question. The second topic, which still has 2 questions, I mean, like, this is what we've got for this period, is public places. And the first question is, have you ever talked with someone you don't know in public places? Well, this is a question that tries to see if you have ever communicated with an unfamiliar person in a public place. And this usually happens when we ask for directions, right? So you can easily say this. Well, I think it has happened to me several times in my life when particularly I asked for directions of places that I hadn't visited before. And I think it's very common in our country, and many people do communicate with others that they haven't met before. So my answer actually contains perfect tenses, which is brilliant, and some complex structures. Although it is part 1, if the situation requires, as I have mentioned before, you can use your skills. You can showcase your grammar that the examiner sees and likes. So you don't have to push yourself for this, but if that's possible, always do it. And the next question for this topic is, do you wear headphones in public places? Personally, I used to do it. I used to wear headphones when I used to take a bus to university to work, but now I don't because I'm using my AirPods at work to fully concentrate on my job. That's why if I use headphones again on public transport, it's going to be extreme for me. So that's what I'm going to say in my answer. So my answer for this question will be, I used to wear headphones almost every day when I was a student because it was fun to listen to some podcasts or my favorite music on the bus. Then, however, things have changed and now I use my earphones to focus even more on my projects that I'm working on. And using those headphones in public places will be extremely a lot and probably hurt my health. Sorry, something like that. So I already have said that I used to do it, like using used to is a very good way to show your grammar. And honestly saying that I used to do it, but now I don't do it. The reason why I don't do it is this. And that brings us to the end of this topic. Usually in every video, I try to give answers for 2 topics, but because these 2 topics contain like just 2 questions each, I'm going to add 2 more topics to this video. Before we move on to the next topics, I'd like to thank you for helping me grow this channel. Day by day, I receive more subscribers and more views on my videos, and that motivates me beyond imagination. I really appreciate your effort, and if you can help me reach out to more people, I will be so happy. Thank you for your help. Well, now the third topic of the video is having a break. This is quite common. I'm sure that the examiners ask such questions frequently. What do you usually do during a break? Well, again, you need to think of your breaks. And these breaks, I don't think are only about taking breaks from your work. It can be also breaks from your studies, breaks from gaming sessions even, like that depends, but any sort of break, you need to think of that and tell the examiner what you do. Well, when I take a break, especially from my work, I try to inhale some fresh air because it helps my brain function better and it takes me away from the digital world that I'm surrounded with. So I said why I take the break and how I use it for my own betterment. And again, this is the best sort of answer to tell the examiner because it helps the examiner see your real life and see your answers, how authentic your answers are. The next question is, how often do you take a break? Well, again, that depends on you, and don't worry if your answers are extreme. For example, personally speaking, I know it may sound a little crazy, but I take up to 10 breaks a day because of my work's intensity. I work on various projects and I also teach online classes, which collectively require little breaks. So I try to take a break every 45 minutes or an hour so that I can stay fresh to work even more. Again, I told the truth. I let the examiner know that my job is very intensive and I have to take more breaks. In your case, you may change it. If you don't need many breaks, just let the examiner know that. You can say, well, my work is not that difficult, or you can say, I'm a person who concentrates very hard, and whenever I'm concentrated, I don't know how the time passes. So my break may, I may forget to take a break so that I can be concentrated for 3 hours non-stop, something like that. Depends on you again, but tell the truth. Tell the truth and say it in the most beautiful way possible. Next question is, do you take a nap when you have a rest? Personally, I used to do it when I worked from home. It has got pros and cons, but now I don't do it. So this is what my answer is gonna be. Well, I used to take a nap when I worked from home, especially in the afternoons, thinking that it was going to recharge me. However, quite the opposite usually used to happen. So after my nap, I felt sleepy for an hour, and to gain my consciousness, I already kind of used to lose 1 hour on just surfing on YouTube, which was complete waste of time for me. Now, however, things have changed and I work from office and I don't take a nap and I'm very happy with it. So I have said the situation, but in your case, again, if you don't take a nap, just say it. Like, I don't take a nap, I don't see I need it because I don't have the conditions to take a nap, for example, something like that. Be simple, but be on the question. Don't go off topic. And final question of the topic is, how do you feel after taking a nap? I already had answered this question. Probably the examiner is not going to ask me why, because of my third answer. But let's say the examiner asks you this question, what would you say? As I have mentioned before, after taking a nap, I usually feel dizzy and it becomes really hard for me to focus. This is why I kind of like try to avoid taking naps in the afternoons. However, the advantageous side of taking a nap in the afternoon is that you also feel energetic, and once you are refreshed, you are ready to work even harder. Something like that. But in your case, like however you feel, maybe you feel perfect after taking a nap. Maybe like a nap of 30 minutes will recharge your energy beyond imagination. You need to say that. Again, this is very important to say. And our final topic of the video is rules. Are there any rules for students at your school? Well, these questions probably are going to be asked to people who study at university or at school, right? Because I don't study anywhere, the likelihood of me receiving such a question is very low. However, for the sake of this video, for the sake of information, I'm gonna pretend as if I'm a student studying at university, right? Are there any rules for students at your school? I don't think there are many rules for students to follow at the school that I'm studying. However, there is one strict rule, especially for the male students, and that is keeping your face shaved all the time. So you can't grow your beard, which is against the rules. And I think for female students, it is the length of the skirt. So students are not allowed to wear mini skirts at our school. So some sort of a rule that I kind of like fabricated. Okay, whatever the rule you have, well, if you don't study at school or university, don't worry about it, you're not going to receive it. But no, if you're a student, then definitely think about the rules at your school. Do you think students would benefit from more rules? Personally, my answer to this is yes and no at the same time. And that is what I need to say. Like, honestly speaking, I would say yes and no at the same time. Yes, because more rules probably will lead to more discipline, and discipline is always essential in education. On the other hand, however, I would say no, because more restrictions or more rules may demotivate the students to come back to school or see the school as a place to feel confident or comfortable, right? So I've already stated my answer. I said that yes and no at the same time. But again, whatever you think should be your answer. Like, you can easily go with one side, like absolutely yes. I think we need more rules because we have to somehow restrain the younger generation, especially social media has to be completely banned at school, etc., etc. Like, you can give examples for more restrictions, or you can do the opposite and say we need more freedom because we need to get the creativity out of our youngsters and help them become, I don't know, like more comfortable. Well, however you feel. Do you have a teacher who does his or her job very well? Well, that's an interesting question. I don't know like what it has to do with rules, but I mean, that's the question I took from the source that I'm using. And I definitely am going to state a teacher that I really, I mean, whose job was mesmerizing. And that's going to be a very easy answer, right? Absolutely, yes. I do have a chemistry teacher at our school whose discipline is 10 times better than all of the teachers combined at that school. In addition to that, she's not only teaching us, but she's also guiding us as not teenagers, but adults. That's why I think she's a person beyond the teacher. She's a true friend, a true guide, a true person or the right person to help youngsters to become better version of themselves. And that would bring us to the end of this video. 4 topics we have worked, and these are actual topics. They may the duration of these topics are September 2025 and April 2026, which means we still have like more than 3 months to see these questions actually appear in real exams. However, you shouldn't be scared. Now you've seen the questions. I mean, you have heard the questions. You've heard my answers to these questions. What you need to do is to write down your ideas as much as possible. Write down ideas, practice, 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 and believe me, you're gonna get better score. Because whenever you're familiar with the question, you all of a sudden become in control of the situation. And this is what I want to do for you with these series of videos. Thank you very much for watching me, and see you in episode 4. Bye-bye.